We'll wait though, we're just a few minutes early going live. Hi everybody, Nicola here, and I'm joined with Teresa.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
We're going to go, well, we are live. We'll start in a minute. We'll just wait for everybody to gather. We would love for you to, first of all, like this live stream and also place a comment that help us out, get this out to more and more people, because today's live stream is going to be about the upcoming super cycle for Bitcoin and the altcoin season, as well as we'll look at price action for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and EOS briefly. We would love to see your comments here. Yeah, just while we're waiting for people to gather, just a shout out to all of my friends in South Africa. I've got an online business manager who is barricaded in her home right now with 2 weeks worth of food left, factories being burnt down. The whole suburb is barricaded in, so nobody can get in and nobody can get out, which means food supplies can't get in, and there are no food supplies anyway. If you weren't aware, the whole of the northeastern side of South Africa is up in arms about the past president being jailed. So we just want to send some prayers and some thoughts out there that can, because we totally believe in remote healing and remote prayer, to send out to just calm the whole situation down. Otherwise, within a couple of weeks, we may end up with people starving to death inside their homes. So just shout out to you guys to do whatever you can to find your escape route. Teresa, did you want to say anything about that before we start the technical
Yeah,
rundown?
for those of you who are listening, I know we both have a lot of followers in South Africa on our other channels, especially, and you know, don't be the frog in boiling water is all I can say. You know, sometimes people stay hoping things will get better while the water heats up, and there is a risk of trying to get out, but I think it's getting to the point where the risk is greater than the risk of trying to get out. So you know, courage. And remember Ho'oponopono, right? I'm a big fan of the Ho'oponopono
Yeah.
prayer, so Google that if you don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Google that and just put your angel light on, because I think at this time it's really important to believe in the best in humanity, and that sometimes these crises can bring the best out of humanity. And if you've got your angel light on and you're going through your escape route to get to a safer town or to get out of the country, you can gravitate towards other angels that have got the angel light on, and together everybody achieves more, instead of being so scared that, you know, that everybody is a baddie, which is not true, that it immobilizes you. And we know with Hurricane Katrina that people who stayed when all the warnings were there that something really bad was going to happen were the people that a really bad fate befell. So I'm doing my best to help my friends and obviously my online business manager find their escape and get out, because it just doesn't look like the government has a handle on things, and food's running out and gas will run out soon. So the longer you leave it, the harder it will be to get out. So just shout out to all of our beloved friends in South Africa and the people of South Africa, and we just pray for peace, and we pray for calm, and we pray for solutions. Then we also pray for the international community and the humanitarian aid getting in there as soon as possible. Otherwise, we may end up with mass starvation happening inside people's homes. So that's that. Okay, so a bit of a stressful time. I'm looking at Bitcoin on the weekly. We're talking about a Bitcoin Supercycle. On the weekly, I want to point out a few things. See how we're finding support here at around 31, let's say between 31 and 32,000, with some wicking going on down to, at the very most, to 28,683. We've got all that support here on our way up into when the bull run started, which was around January, and then we've got all this support now, which is just slightly going on a bit longer than this spread here. And what's really interesting when we're talking about whether or not Bitcoin's going to go under 30,000 and go to 20,000, go to those lower numbers, Teresa's going to talk about the EMA, but I'm going to talk about this new indicator that I found by watching somebody else's channel, and it's called the CM Williams VIX Fix finds market bottoms, and it finds the market bottoms. You go to indicators, you go to public library, and there it is there. When you have green candlesticks here, it's an indication that we're going to flip bullish and have a little bit of a run. Now, when there's a few candles, it's a little bit of a run. So there's a bit of an incline there. Here's some candles here, and we had a smaller incline that actually led to a bigger incline. Here is a green candle here, and from this point on to that point on, we went up. Now, have a look at how many green candles there are here, indicating that we're about to turn and head up. We're going up. According to this. Now, there are bearish signs. We are creating lower highs. So that means we're trending down on the shorter time frame. But when we zoom out, we're coming to the end days of the sideways up and down motion, and we are potentially going up and not going into those lower numbers. I want to come back to Saturn retrograde. And Saturn retrograde last year, this is the planet Saturn that rules limitation. It's all about retarded speed in finances and in the economy and in career. When we have a look here, let's see, where are we? July. When we have a look here, around about July 20th, we started to see bullish momentum to the upside, and then a massive run up, trading sideways, and then a drop back down to approximately where we started to create a very thick, wide head of Bart Simpson, right? Boom, that looks like Bart Simpson's head. So everything is being indicated now. If we have a look at where we're at, Saturn retrograde, went retrograde 13 days later. So if we come over to the chart and go, okay, so last time, that happened around the last few days of July. This time, it's probably going to happen in the first or the second week of August, which is around about here. When we come down into the daily, right, and we see how we have actually this is a different one, a different scenario. Here, let me put in the support and resistance lines. The pinnacle of this wedge that we are currently in is sitting around the 21st of July. So we have to make a decision here. So we could see a little bit of sideways action or breakout literally any time between now and the first or second week of August, if we're following patterns from the past. Teresa, do you want to talk about the EMA ribbon? I'll go back to the monthly, or do you want to use your chart?
Sure, I'll just flip over and use my chart.
Okay.
Let me find it here. Okay, so I'm just looking at the overall Bitcoin index. In other words, this is pulling the price of Bitcoin from numerous exchanges since the inception of Bitcoin, right? And one of the things we see is the EMA ribbon support for the price of Bitcoin. And what you hear most YouTubers talk about is when we start dipping below the EMA ribbon on the weekly is when we're really clear we're now in the bear cycle as opposed to the bull trend. In fact, usually it's when we break back up above the EMA ribbon that starts, right? So I think one of the first things we're seeing here is we're still being supported by the EMA ribbon on the weekly candles. We have not broken the EMA ribbon. And a lot of the bigger YouTubers have been talking about this. If we get a weekly close below the EMA ribbon, that could signal we're much lower price levels, maybe even as low as 18,000. But as long as the bottom of the EMA ribbon is supporting us, it's a lot more likely that we'll go up, right? I think it's worth talking about the miner's hash rate too, which is another indicator. I use this, the indicator here, the great indicator these guys have developed. It's one of the TradingView indicators. They actually mark the buy positions and the close positions on for swing traders on with this indicator, so you can see them pop up here. The hash rate is just they're in the network of Bitcoin miners. And sometimes what we see is if miners aren't making enough money on mining Bitcoin, they start moving the computational power over to mining other coins, right? And so this is kind of interesting because Bitcoin, you can see there's normally, there's normally a dip in the hash rate, which is followed by a stabilization of the hash rate, which then gives us a buy signal. And that signal, dip in the hash rate coincides with dip in the price, hash rate stabilizes, then we get a buy signal, and then the price goes up. I don't think we've ever seen a dip in the hash rate this big. So that's the first thing. That's kind of interesting to pay attention to. But as this stabilizes, we're going to get a buy signal here that indicates that there's still a run up. So when we usually start to see this capitulation happen, that's signaling that there's a correction happening and we're about to go back into bullish momentum. The way this is moving though, if you look, all right, let me pull the price back into view here. Whoops. If you look at the level that this is correcting, I don't know if we're going to see switch back into bullish momentum anytime in the next week. I think this is probably going to stabilize for a week or two before the buy signal that says now we're back into bullish momentum. That said, though, I love that you touched on the, or anything more you wanted to say about that, about the hash ribbons, Nicola?
No, that's good.
Okay. I love that Nicola was touching on the Ichimoku. If you look on the Ichimoku on the weekly, this is still looking pretty bullish. This is not what you'd expect an Ichimoku to look like, an Ichimoku cloud, if it was saying prices are about to go way down, right? Normally we'd see a crossing of the two line and baseline here. And the lagging span would be normally running into a lot of price resistance. Well, it is hitting the cloud here, which is kind of interesting. But we aren't seeing, you know, we're still in the green cloud. It's narrow, which often signals that move coming. Like, so as the Ichimoku cloud narrows, it usually means we're about to get a big move to the upside or a big move to the downside. But it's not looking bullish at the moment. It's still trending upwards, and there's no sign.
You mean it's not looking bearish?
So, not looking bearish. Thank you for correcting my dyslexia. So I think we may be in for a little bit more sideways price action for the next couple weeks. One of the things that's really interesting about how we've been seeing this price action, I like to call this my pickup sticks, right? And this does look a little crazy, but essentially what we've been seeing here is, sorry, that's the trend lines for the RSI. What we've been seeing here is the patterns are busting. In other words, they're breaking out, but then coming back into the pattern, right? This is often indicative of these kind of fan style lines, right? We have what we think is a big triangle about to break. It breaks up, comes back into the pattern, or breaks down, comes back into the pattern. And then all of a sudden we have new lines that we're paying attention to because it went further out. So just be aware of that as a pattern coming on. I've started mapping lines that aren't yet significant. Like, we join the tops of this head and shoulders that started this whole price reversal. We haven't touched up those points yet, but notice there is a point here where there is significant resistance in the market. We've had a previous all-time high at that point, and there is that line, should it become significant, could actually start acting as resistance, right? So if this trend of pattern busting keeps going on,
between 40 to 42,000. When you say that line, you're talking about from 40 to 42,000?
This line here. So the previous all-time high be just under 42,000. So where those two lines cross, should we start getting price action with those lines crossing, I would look to this as a significant area of resistance in the market. We'll probably come back down into the pattern. So it's very possible that we are forming a super super triangle right now, a super wedge, and that every time we bust a pattern, the wedge is just getting bigger and moving further out, because we've had almost 2 months of busted patterns that have broken out and come back into the pattern, broken out up, come back into the pattern, broken up down, come back into the pattern. And very little has met the target in the last 2 months, other than the very small patterns within the patterns. But the big pattern breakouts have not been meeting their targets. So start paying attention. Sorry, there's something going on with my RSI here, not displaying right, and it's causing a bit of a mess on my chart. But start paying attention to the route that could become significant, because I have a feeling those are going to be market turnarounds in both directions.
Yeah, and in terms of just where the price action is right now for Bitcoin, as Teresa was saying, like we started out going, oh, this is a bear flag, right? And we go, yep, here we go. And we drew a bear flag and we go, yep, so we're going down lower. Right, it comes down here, and then as price action goes forward, we go, oh no, it's going down a little bit, so we might be creating a symmetrical triangle or a bear pennant, and we go, oh no, it's keeping on going, and so it's like each time it doesn't fulfill the actual pattern breakout, it's creating a bigger pattern, in this case a bigger triangle. So interestingly, this, if we're following this descending wedge here, these break up to the upside more often than they break to the downside. And the D-Day for this is around the 6th of August, which is in that window I said with the whole Saturn retrograde pattern from last year, where we might see a continuation to the upside in a very dramatic way. Boom, here it is here, right? That's possible. But until then, we can just have a look at this particular line here of 31,800, let's call it 31,600. Actually, let's bring this down a bit, being the significant line to bust in order to continue this pattern to the downside, because we've had no trading down in here. It's all been meeting this support here, in which case this isn't a descending triangle. If we take this line out, it is a descending triangle, right? Like a descending wedge versus a descending triangle. So we're just watching this price action as it goes through. It's very difficult to trade. So I'm on the sidelines right now, and I'm waiting for a big turnaround, because once we start getting to the pinnacle of these patterns, it can get quite volatile. You enter a short, it reverses. You enter a long, it reverses. So we've only got a few days before the pinnacle here to the 24th of July. And then another week, as Teresa said, the next couple of weeks, we could just continue to trade sideways, maybe slightly down, maybe have a few fake outs, and then head on up. Interesting to note, in Saturn retrograde, there were no big dips below the support line. It was all action happening above the support line. We didn't get the big dip like down. In this case, it would be a big dip down to 24,000, 20,000. We didn't get that last time. So if we're following this pattern, and so far we are following it, you'll see here we had quite a lot of volatility as we come into Saturn retrograde, and now it's got tighter, and then just as we come here, it got tighter and tighter before it goes up. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. Got a lot of volatility when we first started. We came down, and now, like when we first started, we were trading with within a $10,000 range, right? 42,000 to 30,000, 12,000, let's say. And now we started trading within 36,000 down to 31,000. So that's approximately $5,000. But now it's got even tighter, which is 35.2 down to 31.5. So what is that? That's around about 3,500 or whatever the math is on that. So the point being is that we are getting tighter and tighter, and we're coiling up. If you look at the volume, we're also coiling up. This is another signal of a volatile move to the upside or to the downside. I think I have a bias to the upside, so I'm waiting to put in a long once we break out and have a confirmed breakout. But obviously we can always go lower because every now and then you'll see a contradictory sign, right? Is there anything else we need to say on Bitcoin? Just right now, I would say wait for the bigger trade rather than risking losing capital in these really volatile moves unless you're an experienced scalper. That would be my
Yeah, really good.
thought about it, but I'm not a financial advisor, so you got to do your own
My gut is
stuff.
saying we have at least a couple more weeks of sideways action, making bigger and bigger patterns all the time. In fact, if you're a fan of Bulkowski, right? Lots of traders use Bulkowski's chart pattern books. I would highly recommend. He also has a website called thepatternSite.com if you want to read up on his patterns there. But read up on busted patterns because we are in a month of busted patterns. Patterns keep making bigger and bigger triangles or bigger and bigger wedges. So lines that weren't significant are becoming significant, right? So just start paying attention to that.
Yeah, and speaking of him, the grandfather of charts, he is not one of the speakers at our Conscious Crypto event. Right? So, tickets are on sale now. We're dropping a link below, or you can just go over to the Conscious Crypto event. It's in October, right in time for the beginning of what we're calling a super cycle. There are workshops. You'll see the speakers that we've got there. There are some we're still yet to confirm. We've got 1 hour workshops where you get to talk to some of the YouTubers and learn trading strategies, technical analysis. We've got expert panels on what indicators to use, predictions and strategies for when the bull run goes over, how to minimize your taxes, your mindset, obviously, and the psychology of trading. What are you going to do with all that Bitcoin, and how to balance out your portfolio with altcoins, DeFi, and NFTs. So take a look at that over at the consciouscryptoevent.com and get your ticket, because we've got early bird tickets on till the end of July, and you'll get to save, I think it's about $400 if you buy your ticket this week. And I'm going to drop a link in the description after this as well too, but it's the Conscious Crypto event, especially for traders. It's the very first event ever done for cryptocurrency traders, so you are going to want to be there. Moving on to Ethereum, obviously Ethereum, tends to follow Bitcoin. However, we are seeing a little bit of a breakout every now and then where Ethereum goes its own way. So the other part of what we were going to be talking about today was altcoin season. So let's just go over to this chart that I've got here, that one of our crypto ninjas, which is our private VIP mentoring group, which you are very welcome to belong to. The link is below this video for that. She's put together, one of our members of our ninjas has put together the halving. And normally after halving, which is when, the amount of Bitcoin that you can produce is halved, and so it creates a price effect of going up. Normally there's approximately 18 months to 24 months of a bull cycle, and then the rest is a bear cycle. And it's not exactly even, but it's pretty much even. So when everybody's going, we're going into the bear market, and then basically what you're saying is we've had a short bull market, which we've never had in the history of Bitcoin, which is why I have a bias to the fact that while we may go down a little bit, I'm not seeing big dips down to the lower end. So here, if you have a look at the halving, May 11th, there are some people who said halving started at June 12th. So let's give or take a month here. And this is the third halving for Bitcoin. And then as you see, a couple of months later, we started the bull cycle. Then we've come down to have some kind of a correction. We've landed here around the same zone right here, very similar zone here to create a support. And the longer we go sideways, the higher the price is probably going to go in what we're calling the next super cycle. So Teresa, do you want to talk about the super cycle?
Yeah, when in 2013, we saw a super cycle, right? Where there were two peaks. In fact, the pi cycle twice. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We're going to see the pi cycle indicator top out twice. Great indicator, by the way. We can talk about that on another call. But the longer this correction goes, when we look at the logarithmic charts, like the rainbow charts that you can find scale, the higher the price we're going to hit when we hit the top. So I think there's actually a lot of people that are hoping we go on for another 2, 3, even 4 weeks of sideways action. Think of it as you're climbing Everest. You want to have a base camp along the way where you've got all this sideways action. What we're creating is loads of support for this super cycle. In other words, this is going to become an area where it becomes very, very hard for the market to ever retrace beyond. In fact, I think this first peak is likely, so the peak when the pi cycle indicator first topped out is likely going to be the bottom of the next bear cycle in 18 months to 2 years when it starts to retrace after the second peak.
Yeah. So Lisa, my ninja, based on the number of days post-halving, puts the end of the bull run at April 11th, 2022,
Nice.
which is around about when I interviewed Da Vinci J. I asked him, when's the bull run over? He said, oh, December. And I went, oh, April. And I'm going, okay, cool. Well, so somewhere between December and April, but we may see higher prices. And then that's when we go into the bear cycle. So everything that Teresa and I have been showing you is pointing towards we are going to see continuation of an upward price action. But between now and that time that we upturn, it's still anyone's business as to whether or not we do go lower. But it looks at the moment like we're trading sideways and we're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, getting ready to make that move. So when we look at Ethereum, Ethereum is kind of a little bit more predictable, I think, than Bitcoin, but it is more bullish because even though we're doing lower highs and lower lows, we're in a descending wedge which breaks to the upside, which means when it breaks, we are going to break up back to where we started, which is around about 2,900, maybe just a bit over 2,900. And we could come back down to 1695, which is where we've got some kind of a support here. We've touched it 3 times already before coming back up. And then we'll just monitor that. That line is no longer valid. One of the reasons why I don't think we're going down again also is because Ethereum. We did a couple of weeks ago, didn't we talk, Teresa? We talked about Ethereum starting to lead the pack instead of following Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's worth noting. And, we ago, but, often in past Bitcoin has been the leader, and you could look to Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin started to dump, shortly thereafter, all the other coins would start to dump. Now Ethereum recently has become the leader. So that's fascinating. So pay attention to as an indicator of what might be about to happen in Bitcoin or XRP.
Yeah, I don't think we can rely on Bitcoin being the leader anymore. We've got to also really seriously take a look at what's going on in Ethereum, because often it breaks out earlier than Bitcoin, whereas before it used to be the opposite way around, and we could possibly be seeing a reversal of that. So the next altcoin season, I saw BitBoy Crypto. What's his name? Is it BitBoy?
Bandit, BitBoy, or?
BitBoy Crypto, yeah. BitBoy Crypto is talking about altcoin season in August. So as we get continued sideways action on Bitcoin, it gets a little bit boring. Naturally, people are turning to their favorite projects because with altcoins, there's a project and utility involved with it that is not necessarily with Bitcoin. And it's got its own cult-like following, and so we're starting to see altcoins breaking out. And if you go to CoinGecko in any given moment, you'll see that there'll be altcoins that are in the green when Bitcoin and Ethereum are in the red. So you want to watch out for that. So let's have a look at XRP. Oh yes. So on Ethereum, if you're waiting for a trade, it's going to start getting really volatile over the next couple of days as we get closer to this pinnacle. See this baseline here. Might not come back down to touch the bottom of this channel and then bounce off here. So unless you're an experienced scalper, for me personally, I don't want to risk my capital and then miss out on the biggest bull run super cycle altcoin season that we've ever seen. I'd rather just wait, be patient for a few more days or a week, and then do the really, really big trade. That's just my personal preference. It's the same, exactly the same with XRP on the 4-hourly. We have been respecting this line here as support a couple of times, just sort of faked out on it here. When there's price action, you can sort of continue to build your lines, but it doesn't make sense. You really kind of need to have as many candles touching as possible. But we did not break down to the downside, right? We're finding support here, and then it looks like we could possibly head up to the top of this triangle. But if you look at this, we're posting lower highs. So I would even go as further to go, there's a triangle within a triangle here. So I don't know if we're going to come up to the top of this triangle before we do a big breakout. We might come back up here to around about 63.88, come back down, go back up and down. And the breakout point is literally any time between now and the 17th or the 18th. Oh, 18th of July is today. Is that right?
We are the 14th of July.
No.
Yeah.
No, well, 18th of July is Sunday. Yeah. So possibly the Chinese market coming on Sunday when we print the week candle could be around about when we're breaking out, and expect a little bit of uncertainty in here. And obviously, if we break to the upside on this, we are going to, I think it's 72 cents, just depending on where we break out. Oh no, it's up at 85 cents. Let's call it 85 cents, right? If we break to the downside, it's going to negative 41 cents, which is another reason why I don't think we're going to be breaking down much lower. Has there ever been a coin that's gone into the negative that's had so much volatility?
That would be the demise of the coin. Yeah.
Lastly, we had, by the way, guys, all of you new guys, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel. What we do here in Conscious Crypto Traders is we do technical analysis. We teach you technical analysis as well, so that you can go off to do that for yourself. We look at scenarios that may affect price action, and we do psychology and mindset. And right now, the mindset and the psychology we're talking about is patience for the bigger trades, right? Rather than getting into losses. So we would love for you to subscribe and be part of our community. We upload videos every day. We go live once a week. As of next week, I am looking at doing a live stream every morning at around about 11 o'clock, 11:30 US Mountain Time. We're in Costa Rica. So that we can monitor the breakout and we can be there maybe live to actually see it. And we would love for you to like this video, because that really helps us out with building the channel. We are a new channel, so we always appreciate that. And we put a lot of effort into this to help you. So we would appreciate a little bit of juju back. So EOS was a question. We got somebody asking us a question, what about EOS? And last week when I looked at it, I looked at the volume and I saw all of this price manipulation. If you see all these candles going, the green and then the red, just breaking out of the volume. And I went, whoa, this is really volatile. Then one of my ninjas is in EOS and talked to me about it. And so I did some more research and I ended up buying some EOS because I went, oh my goodness. The prediction for this coin is around about $36 to $90, which is, I think that's over about 2,000% increase. So now I'm going to be talking about EOS, which is in an upward channel, which is the complete opposite of the rest of the coins that we've been looking at. And obviously these break to the downside more often than they break to the upside. Although EOS, as I've been looking at, actually doesn't always follow the pack. Didn't you trade EOS in the beginning? And
I did, yeah. And the volatility was too much for me, really. Like you know, each coin you trade, you've got to start to get a feel for how that coin performs, right?
Yeah.
Just found EOS was too often busting its patterns and coming back into the pattern and stuff like that, that I stopped trading it. But that having said, you know, with a price prediction of $30 to $90, just buying and hodling some EOS, maybe not such a bad idea. I think I might pick some up too right now, looking at what it's at.
Well, the other thing that I really liked about it, I bought it down here on this red candle here. And then when I was sleeping, whoop, it shot up.
Nice.
So I was really happy about that. One of the things that you're going to need to look at with EOS, because the patterns, like it trades in channels a little bit like XRP. XRP is always in channels and wedges and bull flags. Not so many bull flags with EOS. But because the patterns aren't as well defined as Bitcoin and Ethereum, say, because it's an older coin, more established, more trading going on in it, more volume, you're going to really need to rely on your Fibonacci levels to look at, and also the Ichimoku cloud, which is here, to have a look at when you are putting in all your lines. So now we've got the pickup sticks effect, right? It's looking really busy. So looking at these to see where we're going. So we could see that we were about to flip bullish on the Ichimoku cloud down here, right? And fair enough, we went up. And it looks like we're continuing to go up, in which case we'll break above this descending wedge, and normally descending wedges break to the upside and they go all the way up to, in this instance, $4.30, $4.37.8, to where the first candle touches the beginning of the downward wedge. And we could see that because of the Ichimoku cloud, and also putting in your support resistance dynamic lines, which are these lines here, to see where your support and your resistance is, so that you can know where it's going, since the patterns aren't always clear. So we break out and it's like, well, heck, where are we going? Like, for example, this pattern here, we came down and we went down further with the price action, and you would look at that and you would go, oh, that's a bear flag. We should be breaking to the downside, right? Boom. But not only did we not break to the downside, we went up way further than the flagpole. And you can't always see that in the patterns with EOS. You're going to have to need to look at your other indicators. And of curiosity, what's going on with the Williams? Yeah, look, see this indicator here was green, and then as soon as we saw these green candles, that's a good time to buy or get into a long, according to the indicator, and then we shot up, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have caught that. You wouldn't have caught that we were going to be hit up. You would have thought we were going to continue to go down to the downside. So is anybody trading EOS? And it'd be great for you to make a comment if you are. Because
well, the other thing to pay attention to, Nicola, is with a giant candle like that in the middle, we could be forming a diamond, right? Which is in fact a reversal pattern. You know, in which case we'd be pretty close to the end of the diamond right now, but it's not a real pretty diamond. It's not what you normally want to see. With the higher high on the second peak there, you know, it's kind of like a double top instead of a diamond pattern, right? Because there is both hit the same price level. So at this point, I would say it's probably not a valid diamond. But when you see a giant wick like that, you know, that's the first place your mind should go. Are we forming a diamond pattern? Because a diamond is a really strong reversal pattern. It's one of the patterns as a reversal pattern goes, but it's looking more like a pentagon right now. So I don't know.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, but I think it's good to just note, because this is just yet another indication that in the altcoins, we're seeing bullish signs earlier on to say we're going to swing to the upside before we really have that confirmation with Bitcoin, right? So let's just recap before we finish. Supercycle, we've had, Teresa talked about 2 double tops in this cycle here for Bitcoin. We've done one. We've had an all-time high up around in the 60,000s, coming down, consolidating, looking for another cycle. Could end in December, as Da Vinci J says. And Da Vinci J is really, I think he's really awesome to follow, because you remember he's been in since $1. Bitcoin was $1. So he's seen all of the bull cycles. So he's got more of a feel for it. But as far as the math is concerned for the halving and the bull cycle post-halving, we're looking at around about April, possibly May. And if we look at Saturn retrograde, the pattern from last year, we saw something happen at the end of July where we just shot up, came across, came down. Then once we came out of retrograde, I've got Saturn progressive, basically means that we're moving forward now. Then we started a week later, a slow ascent, and then we just shot up. So the time frame this year for this first spike, if we're following this pattern, is around about the end of July to the first 2 weeks of August, and then progressive happens on the 10th of October. Yeah, the 10th of October, which is when somewhere around the 10th of October to the middle of October, we will start to see the ascent. And that is when and why we've got the Conscious Crypto Traders event happening around about there, because you will be with people like Crypto, Da Vinci J15, Crypto Wendy, Jeroen from Blockchain Today, Digital Asset News, Marzel Money, and some other traders, as well as some other people who support traders, to monitor that and have a look at how you can best profit from that next bull run and this huge super cycle that we will be most likely going into. Anything else you want to end on there, Teresa, before we?
I was just going to say, no, awesome TA today, Nicola. Really good stuff.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and it was great. Great, your contribution was good too, because what's really great about Teresa and I is she looks at things that I don't look at. So I rely on her to tell me.
It's nice having next door neighbors who are traders, I gotta say, because sometimes Nicola will say things to me like, I'm trading the Head and Shoulders, and I'll be like, there's a Head and Shoulders, So it's always fun to have people to talk to.
Yeah. And then we'd love to see you get your early bird ticket. You're going to save $400 if you get your ticket today. And that's at the consciouscryptoevent.com. And the link is going to be below as well for those of you watching the replay, so that you can make sure that you get the cheaper ticket instead of the more expensive one, the longer you drag your feet on that. It's going to be an awesome event. Anything you want to say about that? And then we'll close up.
No, we're just really excited. This is going to be our first Conscious Crypto Traders events. We're going to move these into live events in Costa Rica in a year, so that we get to meet you all in person, some of your favorite YouTubers. So we're really looking forward to meeting you all. This is going to be a lot of fun, and just I'm looking forward to hearing what a lot of the speakers have to say. Trading is a lot like doing a university degree. Like, you can never stop learning, and you need many mentors and many courses and to really master this. So I'm excited to be bringing together so many experts. Right? Yeah, never stop learning.
Yeah, never stop learning. And the whole concept of this is, with the age of YouTube censorship and ghosting and shadow banning and all that kind of thing, there's a lot of stuff that our guys can't say. But they're going to be able to say it in our conference, so you're going to want to be there to hear it. So until then, until our next live stream next week, we are uploading new videos every day. So be sure to subscribe, like, comment, click all the bell, all of that stuff, so that you can be plugged into the content that we're going to be uploading for you. And until then, we will say, trade consciously. That delay there. Bye, guys.